Welcome to the Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of herbal medicine and natural healing. I'm your host, Demetria Clark, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey of discovery. At Heart of Herbs Herbal School, we're passionate about empowering individuals to harness the power of plants for health and wellness. Through our podcast, we'll dive into topics ranging from herbal materia medicas, clinical herbalism, sharing insights, interviews, tips, and wisdom to inspire and educate our listeners. Hi, this is Demetria Clark, the director of Heart of Herbs Herbal School, and today we are talking with Tiara Boynes. I hope I said that correctly. And the Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast, and she is an herbalist. And I'm going to let her tell you all about herself. So, Tiara, please introduce yourself.
Yes. So again, my name is Tiara Boynes. I consider myself a community herbalist. I practice holistic wellness. I do wear many hats. I'm an educator. I'm a coach. I'm a consultant. And in essence, I just love to promote holistic health and well-being through herbalism and education. So
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online? So I like to make sure people can find you at the beginning and the end, because sometimes when we get rolling, we forget to ask people that. So where can people find you online?
So I am Queen of Herbs _BB on Instagram. I can also be found. My website is Queen of Herbs Boynes Botanical .com.
Oh, I love it. Queen of Herbs. I love that. So, okay. So that starts off with my first question. So how did you come up with that name? Were other people calling you the queen, or were you like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to own it? Like, how did you come up with your name?
I went back and forth, and I wanted to incorporate my name into my last name into my business name. And then, I just kind of wanted to say, you know what? They always say, hi, queen, hi, king. So I'm like, well, let me embrace that and let me just call myself the Queen of Herbs. So
I love it. That's so awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself as a person, and then I'm going to ask you what drew you to herbs. So if that kind of commingles and gets involved, please feel free to talk about both of those.
Well, I am just a lover of education. I was a nurse for many years, and I think that's what drew me to caring so much about people, and then their health as well. So when I made the transition to start looking into natural ways to heal myself, then I felt that it was something that I needed to share with everybody else. So I love to be educated. I actually got my education from Heart of Herbs. So that's where my education started. So so I'm just one of those people that I love to give information. If I know it, I want to tell it. So
that's awesome. I'm always so impressed with the amount of people that at least come through our program. And I can't speak to anyone else because I don't know what their student enrollment looks like, right? I don't have enough time for that. But how many people I'm seeing in the last 15 years who are nurses, doctors, chiropractors, like just people who are from the more allopathic forms of healing, who are also embracing herbalism and aromatherapy. And I think that shows, at least to me, and maybe it does to you too, that these fields are evolving and maybe going back to, they used to be kind of connected, and then they really, really separated. Do you feel like allopathic medicine and more natural forms of healing are now starting to like embrace each other a little bit more, or is that just me?
no, I do. And actually, funny story. So one of my doctors, we have very good conversations when I go in for like my routine blood work and things like that, because they always ask me, what are you doing to keep your levels here? Or what are you doing for this? Or we know you had this when you came in. How did you, work on that?
Oh,
And
healthy. No.
right, yes. But they always ask for educational research that they can go and look at, because they would prefer to give those options to patients that suffer from maybe something that I was diagnosed with or someone else was diagnosed with, that I conveyed to them, like, hey, they should try this. You should try giving this to your patients, because I know that this helps. So I think they're open. And I think that a lot of people are leaning more towards herbalism and plant healing. So I think that that's going to become more of what we see, is that, traditional physicians and nurses and things are going to start promoting more herbalism and plant health for people.
Oh, I love that. And when you said you were an educator, obviously you weren't joking. So you get to go into your doctor's appointment and educate at the same time. You should
Yes,
really be billing them.
exactly.
So, what drew you to herbs? Was it just something that's always been in your life? I always say that, like, I didn't really have a choice when it came to herbalism. It just kind of was like something that was always around me. And it was just something that I think people were thrown in my path really early on that kind of opened my eyes to that. So what drew you to herbalism? What made you say, you know what? This is potentially a career for me.
Well, growing up, my mom always used, like the little remedies she learned from my grandmother and things like that. So when I essentially got older and had children, I used those remedies as well.
I
But
love
I
that.
actually got sick and had to go on medication that my doctor put me on. Now, I've never been a pharmaceutical person. I do not like to take pharmaceuticals, but because of what I was diagnosed with, I needed to take medication.
Mhm.
However, the medication made me sicker than what I was. My hair started to fall out. I just was really, really sick, and I felt like my provider was not hearing me. I went in, I told them the symptoms I was having, and then they said, okay, well, we can't take you off the medicine. We'll just lower your dosage. Well, the lower dosage didn't work either. I was still having the same symptoms. I literally felt like I was dying. So I started doing a lot of research and looking into herbs and how they heal the body. So I got more in depth because of that. And I ended up taking myself off the medication and healing myself. And so after that, I knew that after taking my health into my own hands and seeing what herbs were capable of, I knew that I needed to share that with other people, because people would not know unless I shared it. So that's how I really got into herbalism as well as helping others, is because I didn't want to hold that information. And honestly, one of the symptoms that I was having from what I had was high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and I had some other things going on, which is very big in the African American community. And a
Definitely.
lot
I'm
of
really
people,
glad that you brought that up and that you um, made that distinction, because I think sometimes we homogenize healthcare and we don't recognize when there's disparities and lack of access and a lack of care. And high blood pressure is one that really affects the Black and African American community in the United States. And we know what some of the ramifications of that are, and that's like dialysis and all this other stuff. So I'm really, really happy that you brought that up. Thank you.
yes, yes. So once I realized that it was such a big need, right? It's something that's not talked about. We all just get on medication and we think that that's going to fix the problem. So I wanted to start helping others. My mother had high blood pressure and, I helped her. And so it just became a thing where it's like, okay, well, this is something I can educate people on. This is something I can help fix because I did it for myself. So then I just started, people started coming to me like, hey, well, I have this pain in my back. Can you help me with this? So it just evolved from there. But that's where I originally started, is wanted to help people with high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, and hormonal issues.
Oh, I love that. So I love how you took something that was part of your life, you branched it out to other people you knew, and became something that you're now educating a community about, your community. And then on top of it all, you now like have a business. And I mean, I think that it's so cool that as herbalists, we live where we live, right? I live in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, right? And I'm going to be the resource for the people in my community, right?
Right. Yes.
And we forget how important that is. And so I love that you use the word educator, and education. And I think that's like our biggest mission, as herbalists. It's the most of our work, right?
Yeah.
We
exactly.
all know how to, you could probably prepare the medicines in your sleep at this point, but the education component where people can access and really absorb what you're saying is, I think that's a gift. So I'm really glad that you're sharing that with everyone around you. So what are your herbal goals? What are your herbal business goals?
The Heart of Herbs Herbal School Podcast.
Well, I just branched out into courses. I have a lot of clients who always say, we want more because you educate us. So they're like, you need to get, workshops and courses. So I'm actually starting to do monthly workshops for the less fortunate, people who can't afford to attend classes, or they like, the older community who tends to get left out and forgotten about. So I do I do workshops once a month for that community for free. And then I am also branching out into, I want to actually open a brick and mortar. So I want a storefront so that I want to be face to face with people. Like, I want to see you. I want to talk to you. I want to see how you look while you're telling me your issues. And I want to be that one-stop shop. I want you to come in, you have a consult, and I make what you need right then and there, and you just take it with you. So that's my ultimate goal in herbalism. And I am also want to start my own, growing my own herbs where I am. So that's another goal.
Oh, I love that. So people can find your classes at your website, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So we will make sure that we have a link to that in the show info. But I wanted to just make sure that if there was a place where the classes were listed differently, that people knew where to find them. So you are really taking education to the community. I mean, you are walking out your front door and educating your friends and neighbors. And I think that's incredible. And I just wanted to, you're talking about educating underserved communities. And I was first asked to teach by actually the Army. The Army, like, family welfare officer was like, hey, can you teach a little thing about breastfeeding and the other stuff that you do and the herbs? And I was like, sure, I mean, and, I think I was paid like $30 for, the little workshop, and there was about 15 people. But that made me realize that these things aren't always accessible. And even if there is an herbalist teaching locally, there's always room for more, I feel. And I also think, like, there's also different kinds of things that you can do. So a long time ago, when I used to do more apprenticeship stuff with our students, and hopefully we'll be doing that again sometime, we would have a program where, like, a student could help pay for another one. You know what I mean? So it was like kind of like a student funded kind of scholarship thing. So we could still afford to run the stuff that we had, but we could also, help people who couldn't afford to be there. And I think that that's cool that you're offering all that to your community. And I bet you could probably find people who'd be willing to help sponsor some of the work that you do in underserved communities and populations. Just a thought, just put it out there. So if anyone wants to help out, you know how to get in touch with her. So what is your favorite part of being an herbalist?
My favorite part of being a herbalist is when you talk to someone and they have so many issues and they just feel lost, and you're able to help them and you can actually see the change that you made in their lives. Like, that is so rewarding for me, because I know how it feels for someone not to listen to you and you to feel like you're at your ropes end. So it's like when you can see a customer or a client say, oh my God, this product really helped me, or I took your advice and this is what I did and it really helped me. That is what pushes me to continue to do what I do.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. I think the thing is that we forget, and I mean, I know I have felt very, very many times in my life that I'm like, dealing with something and I just want someone to like listen to what I'm saying and tell me, hey, this is what's going on, or yeah, we heard you. And I always tell this story that I went to see a doctor about something, and it was, it wasn't like a crazy big deal or anything, but we're like sitting in the office and they were like, oh, did you bring your records? It was like the initial consult. And I was like, yeah, I did. Or no, I didn't. I forgot. But my husband's like, well, I can just open them up. Like, we have the thing online. You can open up the app or whatever. Right. And so like, I don't know if you know this or other people know this, but like, I can't eat wheat. Like, I get really sick, like the kind of sick that's not polite to talk about. Right. And like just horrible sick. And so I always tell people, like, I can't, like anyone who's working with me, because a lot of even natural medicine, sometimes they put like wheat or cellular, like just all kinds of weird fillers and stuff. So I don't take anything I don't really make myself, because I learned that even I don't know, some vitamin that I'm low on this, I'll just trying to give myself a little boost, right? And I ended up really sick because there was some weird filler in it that they didn't have to label. But my husband opens up the records and mine is like blank. So I've been seeing this office for 2 years, just for regular stuff. And they just, it wasn't just checkup, stuff like that. And it said I was allergic to beans. So sometimes the fact that when a client comes to us and says, I'm not being listened to, right?
Yes.
They're literally not being listened to. Like, someone didn't even bother listening to their story. And so I think it's really important that you're making that connection, especially so early on. I mean, I know you have a business and I know you're planning on growing it. So I'm going to say early on, because in some ways you're just starting, because you have this huge goal. That's your end goal, right? So, but that people know that when they go to you, you're going to listen to them. I think that's amazing.
I always tell people part of my job is being a counselor. I'm like, I have to listen to everything before I can address anything. So I'll let people get out what they feel or what's going on, and then I'll take my herbalist hat off and I'll become the counselor, and then I'll put my herbalist hat back on, and then we'll say, okay, so what can we do to fix this? What changes can we make?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so tell us about what you do in reference to coaching with your clients.
So with coaching, I allow my clients to do one-on-one coaching, where what I do is I guide them on their wellness journey. So we have check-ins to make sure that they are staying focused, and we're able to address any new issues that may come up along their journey. So that just allows me to have a more personable relationship with them, where they get calls from me, they can call me, they can email me, I follow up. with them. And then with the coaching, it's just personable. You know, you can get a consult anywhere and you can get told what to do, right? Like, these are my recommendations, but you don't have that follow-up with many of that without you going back and saying, hey, I need to schedule another session. So my coaching allows you to have those follow-ups and have those milestone check-ins to make sure that we don't need to adjust anything or change anything while you're making your way through your journey. So,
oh wow, that's great. That's great. I am like so just impressed with everything that you're doing. And how long have you been we obviously you've been working with herbs for a long time. How long have you been working with herbs business wise?
business wise, for about, I want to say about 6 years now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And do you feel that well, I mean, we already talked a little bit about what you're thinking about for the future. What advice would you give a budding herbalist?
So I'm going to say this, and a lot of people they take it with a grain of salt, but I'm going to say this because I've met herbalists that have just started. I've met herbalists that have been doing it for a long time. I've also met people that just call themselves herbalists but haven't had any type of formal training, which I'm not saying that you need to have formal training.
It doesn't hurt.
I'm going to say I recommend the formal training because I learned so much. It's not just about herbs, and I don't think people understand that, because it's about the whole person. You need to know what medications they're on. You need to know their lifestyle. You can't just tell them to take herbs, because if they're on a certain medication, there are still contradictions with that medication. So knowing these things are very important, to be able to guide someone on what to take and how to take it, because you're not going to give a younger person a dose that you would give an elderly person. So you need to know those things so that you're not actually harming that person and actually doing them some good. So my advice would be to attend workshops, go to formal training. If you can't go to a formal training, there's a lot of herbalists that offer these classes that you can take just to get some sort of education so that you are helping people. There's a lot of books you can read. So I would just say education. I always talk about it. Education is very important, because you don't want to be the reason someone's health declines because you're trying to help them.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that education, I mean, obviously I'm an educator. I think it's really important, but I think so I remember years ago, when we first started, we were like the first herbal school pretty much online, the first one offering that I know of that was offering like online courses and all this kind of stuff. And I just remember like you'd see people's comments on things sometimes, and they were just so nasty. Well, people who study at like a school, they're not a real herbalist. You need to learn from your grandma, right? You need to learn from your whatever. And all I could think was, there are so many people who never ever get to have that connection with the people of their past, their ancestry, of their, so many people are separated from their culture, and I just thought, wow, what a jerky thing to like, just for it to be like, because you see it a lot, right?
Yeah,
you don't need it. And I'm just like, wow, that's so jerky. That's so mean to tell people what kind of herbalism you should be practicing, or what kind of herbalism, what herbalism looks like.
Yes.
It's like herbalism isn't
Different.
herbalism's you and me and anybody who's interested in it. It does not have a look, a feel, a smell, or whatever. Well, maybe it smells a little bit like dirt and a whole lot like fun, but I mean, it's not, and so I'm glad you brought up the educational component. And I think that formal education is good, but I also think it's good because we're getting to a place in our world with herbalism that there's expectations for education. And we have corporate clients that pay to send their students through. And so I think it's good that you're talking about that and that you're encouraging people to embrace that, especially, obviously you can offer them education, which is lovely. But, just saying, hey, there's different ways to find it, but you need to get it.
Yeah.
I like that.
I always promote Heart of Herbs because
thank you.
Yes, I do. I tell people, I'm like, if you want to get started, this is a great school to go to, because sometimes people don't know until they know, right? Herbalism, and I can speak for myself. I was nervous when I first got the formal education because I was used to using herbs for, certain things. But then you realize, oh my God, it's such a whole world out here. And you kind of feel like you don't fit because it's just so much information. You may use a herb a different way than I use a herb. And it's just so much to embrace. And so I think that getting the formal education helped me realize that you could be a community herbalist, you could be a clinical herbalist. Like, there's so many realms that you can step into. You could just do products if that's what you want. But I think that it just gives you a bigger way of looking at herbalism to say, I can fit into this world. It's just, where's my place?
Exactly. Oh, I like it the way that you said that. I think that the reality is that for too long, too few people were defining what an herbalist was.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was a conscious thing or an unconscious thing. I'm thinking it's probably an unconscious thing. And I don't think it was the people who were doing it. I think it was the people who were studying with them did it.
Yeah.
I don't think and I think it made a lot of people feel like they didn't fit in those spaces. Like, when I went to one of my first apprenticeships, I was the only one with really little kids. I was the only one who was breastfeeding. I was, and it was like, what are you doing here? Like, and I'm like, well, this is where I'm supposed to be, And I was just like the young mom and felt like I was out of place because I was 10 years, 20 years younger than everyone else. And so I think like even having spaces where it's okay to be like exactly who you are. I remember a man was very nervous about taking the class because he was like, well, I don't know. I don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of girls all the time. And then he gets there and there's 3 other guys, right? So I think the thing is that we have to let the students define what an herbalist is instead of the industry trying to define what an herbalist is.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I just feel like even if you're a herbalist and you focus on one thing, that one thing needs to be focused on. So you make it your craft and you become the go-to herbalist for that. Because I used to always think I have to be well-rounded in everything. And
it's exhausting.
It's because everybody wants help with, oh, can you do this? Can you help me with this? And I learned that, you know what, if I'm uncomfortable with it, let me get you to someone who is comfortable with treating that so that you can get help. So it's not always about you becoming my client or you paying me. It's really about your healing, because if I don't feel comfortable treating you, I am going to pass you along to someone who has experience with that and that can actually help you. So I think that is something that more herbalists should look into. Is like a referral based system, so that if I don't know, hey, this is a trusted herbalist that I know that can help you, because there's a lot of things that people treat that I don't. There's things that I do that other people don't. And so that would just help more clients become well-rounded in their health, having multiple herbal. You have multiple doctors in your healthcare system. You go to a urologist or you go to a OBGYN. Like, you have so many facets of physicians. Why can't herbalists function in that same, cohesiveness that the medical system focuses on?
I agree. I love not having to know it all. You know what I mean? Like, once I realized that I don't have to know everything. I just have to know people who know stuff. Like, call this person. This is who you want to call. I think there's something really liberating about that in your herbal practice too. And you can actually get to work on what you can work on with them and refer them to people who you can call. And then you can collaborate too. So they can call you with their client's permission and say, hey, what exactly are you doing with them right now? Because I want to do something and, let's make sure we're not, over offering or making too many suggestions and they're not going to be able to comply. And, like,
Yes.
how can we collaborate and make this easier for the client? Can we work on a remedy together that's going to, knock out a few things? I think we can have so much more freedom when we allow ourselves to collaborate and be part of it. Now, of course, I'm saying that, and I'm probably one of the most reclusive herbalists online. So it's something I work on every day. So, so, I think the great thing is that, you're bringing this wisdom and this ability to help your clients connect to who they need, which I think is, if it's not you, you have that referral. And I think that's one of the greatest parts of our job, like being able to really help clients where they're at and meeting them where they're at.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I want to know more about some of the fun stuff that you're doing. Are you creating products? I think you said you were also creating products.
I do create products.
Let's hear about some of those.
So I have a few teas that are my standard teas that I sell. So I have one that helps support heart health because of all the issues that we talked about earlier with the blood pressure and cholesterol. So I do have that. I have I noticed that a lot of people had insomnia issues that come to me. So I did create 2 tea blends that also support insomnia and help with insomnia. But I love that I'm so not traditional because I like to talk to you and I like to make what you need. So I prefer to talk to my clients if they need things. And then I like to just do it on a personal one-on-one because if I make a tea blend for this person, it may not work for this other person. This other person may need a herb that supports 2 different bodily functions and this person may not. So I try to stick to I love making teas, by the way. Thank you, Demetria, because that was all you. But
I think if you love it and you make good ones, we were just a little tiny part of that because you can't fake passion, right?
no, you cannot. But the formulation, that was a big part because you learn the supportive herbs and like that. So I do have products that I put out. And I also do mugs and I do herbal t-shirts and things like that. But
cool.
I put those general items out, but most of my products are made on a one-on-one basis with my client.
So you're truly bespoke. You're offering custom products, custom consultations, education, coaching. You're kind of what is the total package, right? Am I saying that right? Is that the I'm so bad with the lingo, everyone. I apologize, but you're the total package. I mean, you're offering people guidance and a pathway. Do you find that certain you go through periods of you said, you had people coming to you with insomnia. And it's like, do you find that you go through cycles? It's like, oh my gosh, another person with insomnia. Holy Toledo. What's going on here? Right. And then you'll go a year with nobody having any sleep issues after that. They all have heartburn or they all have, do you find that happening?
I do because now it's allergy season and I have so many people reaching out with allergy symptoms and they're like, I need something for allergies, but it's allergies and then it's like joint and arthritis pain. Those are the 2 things now that I am inundated with. And I'm like, this is crazy. But thankfully I did formulate an oil and great reviews on it. So
nice.
I did formulate an oil for one of my clients that had arthritis and joint pain and they love it. And so that's what I use for everyone that calls hey, I have joint pain. And so everyone loves it. So that is one good thing, is that when you find something that you formulated that works, it works. Like, you don't have to keep recreating things, especially your creams or your salves. Like, those things, you can just go ahead and remake them and sell them, which is great. But yeah, those are the two things that I find right now that are just, hey, I have allergies. I have this dry cough. Oh my God, I can't breathe. So that's that's what I'm inundated with now. So
Okay, so I'm totally like coming out of left field, just guessing here, right?
yes.
But I think you probably have that same, okay, I don't know if it's magnetism, attraction, or all the nutters find you, but I have an issue at times where I don't know, it's like there's a light on over my head that's like, hey, there's this strange woman shopping. Why don't you go up to her and tell her all of your health problems and ask her if you have any ideas, even though you have no idea who she is? And that happens to me all the time. I bet that happens to you, doesn't it? Because I'm just getting that vibe from you.
My husband laughs because everywhere we go, I end up talking about herbalism to someone. Or if he meets someone and they're like, yeah, I have this going on. He's like, oh, I know the perfect person you need to talk to. You need to talk to my wife. So he, I
My
always tell
father. Oh,
he
sorry.
markets hard. No, that's okay. He markets harder than me.
Oh, well, that's good, right? He knows who the retirement plan's going to be. He's like, baby, hey, make some money. No, because you've got good formulas and you know, yeah. But I find that I am like my father-in-law has brought it up. My children have brought it up. My husband has brought it up. If you were an old man who could be described as being crotchety, right? You are going to love me. You're going to walk up to me and you're going to start talking to me about your prostate problems, your constipation. I don't know what it is, but it's like there's like a sign on me that's like, hey, old and crotchety, I'm your girl. And it's so hysterical.
Yes. They look at you and they see, oh, she can help me. I have to tell her she can help me.
I'm like, and half the time I'm like in a mom bun and like a stained shirt from gardening. I've got like half of a sunburn because I've been, one side of my face to the sun all day or something. And I'm always a mess. I'm like out of all the people in the store, right? Really? You chose me? I've got dirty jeans on, like, the whole thing. And it's hysterical. And I just know who my people are.
No, if they see, yeah, I get like that. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to go because I know it's going to be like one of those long processes. But I also find that when your friends and family know what you do, you might as well call me like the family physician, because I get calls oh, I did this. What can I do for this? Do you have anything for this? My doctor told me to take this antibiotic, but can you make me one? Like, I just don't want to take. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so funny, because when people know, they just gravitate to you like, oh, I know somebody for that. And my mom is notorious. She meets people, and we're in 2 different states. And she meets people and she's like, you need to call my daughter for that. She can help you. And I'm just like,
Oh yeah, I just had someone sign up on for a course who I think they let me know that they met my mom on a plane. Like, all right, cool, but you don't get a discount because you sat next to my mom, if anything.
so funny. I'm
like, oh goodness. This poor lady probably has my life story now. But
yes.
but it's funny who advocates for us. Did you find early on everyone thought you were nuts so bananas until they were like, oh wow, there may be some realness in this, and then they became your biggest fans?
Yes, it's funny because a lot of people were just like, oh, she's an herbalist. Like, they didn't really know like what I did or what it was. And then once I explained it to them, or they, they want to support, but they like, let me see if she knows what she's doing. So they'll tell me they have a problem, and then I send them something, and then they're like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. So I think that, yeah, a lot of people, they don't know what herbalism is. They just know that it deals with plants and things, but they don't know like what it really is, what we really do. It's more about healing you, whole body, helping support your entire body. And I think people overlook that. And I had one lady tell me she thought I was a witch because
I was gonna say, have you ever gotten that comment?
I did. I was like, I'm a herbalist. And she looked at me. She's like, you're a witch. And I'm like, I'm not a witch. I know. I was like, I'm not a witch.
Not a vampire or a zombie. I just play with
I'm
plants.
like, I don't practice that type of stuff. I said, I just like to help people heal them. But I was just like, oh my God, no, I'm not a witch.
Yeah, I used to always have to like go through like, because my kids would be like, yeah, my mom's a herbalist or a herbalist, depending upon how old they were when they're, and people would be like, oh, really? Like, and then I'd have to like go in and like lay some framework so they would understand that, I'm not going to sacrifice your child under the full moon. It's cool for them to come over and eat, because we've lived in the South, and some of the places in the South could be a little bit more Bible belty, and there's just different words used for herbalism in different parts of the country. Maybe like you're a healer, or you lay hands, or or whatever, right? And like, so they would be like, what? And then I'd have to be like, well, no, I mean, we're just normal folks.
I try to tell people that, I use I always tell people that I'm a Christian. I am a Christian. I go to church. I believe in God. So I'm not trying to put any spells on anybody or anything. And God actually talks about herbs and essential oils in the Bible. So it's like, I'm like, no, we're not witches at all. So
yeah, it's funny. I mean, and there are some herbalists who, practice it any which way. I don't care how you practice. I think we all have a common denominator, and that's herbs. And as long as you're safe and nice to your clients, if you're a jerk to your clients, I'm not going to like you. So but other than that, I mean, you do you. And I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Yes.
So I have a question. Can you give us all of your information again so everyone can hear how they can find you? And if you feel like that you want to spell stuff out, please feel free, because we're going to be closing up here. And I just really, really want to make sure people know where to find you.
Okay. So my website is Queen of Herbs, BoynesBotanical.com. And my Instagram is Queen of Herbs _BB. And then I can be found on Facebook as well as Queen of Herbs, Boynes Botanical as well. And my email is boynesbotanical@gmail.com.
All right. I'm writing this down so I have it too. So this is awesome. And I think it's really, could you spell Boynes for everyone?
Yes.
Just in case.
BOYNES.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to have you on again sometime, hopefully. We'll see how this works. But thank you so much for teaching in your community. Thank you so much for the work that you do and bringing it to everyone around you. I think that's awesome. I hope that you have a great day. And thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure. And I am happy to come back anytime.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Interested in learning more? Visit heartofherbs.com and enroll using coupon code PODCAST to save 20%. The content provided in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. It's always recommended to consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or health regime, especially if you have an existing health condition. Any of the financial information and advice for starting or maintaining an herbal business is just that, information. It's not used to be a guideline on how you should run your business. Contact the appropriate professionals to help you to have a successful business.